All right, now, everybody, quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Yeah. What up, everybody? It is so cool that you can join us. You recognize me maybe as unindicted co-conspirator 7. Nice to see you. Woohoo! Yeah, I'm delighted to join. Always. We've got so much today. It's a historic indictment of a former president. And much as it's been spun by the right and certainly by the former president as, a witch hunt and politically motivated, there's an awful lot here.
My dear friend Brett Burkhardt.
Oh, Brett will not be here today, but I do want to mention to you he will be here next week.
Oh.
So, here today is my dear friend Kim. Kim, everybody.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah, how are you, Kim? You've got your own show now, and you're a big star. Wes in the super sticker game. He is first. Thank you, Wes. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for being here. John Rothmann joins us on this day that we dissect the indictments against the former President Donald Trump. But regardless of what happens, can Trump be stopped? I think that is a significant political question on this day after the indictment, and we'll address that with John Rothmann as well. Smash the like button while you're thinking about it. It's easy to do. It's free, and you can just give us a thumbs up. I want to welcome all of you joining from wherever you are joining. I'm going to break down a little bit of what happened with this indictment. It's very well thought out, I think, and again, we'll talk to Brother Rothmann about this bottom of the hour, but well thought out in a legal sense. For example, there's clearly underlying all of this sedition, right? You're trying to overturn, it was a coup attempt. You're trying to overturn the U.S. government and the transfer of power. You're trying to overturn the results of an election. And the word sedition, I think, doesn't appear at all. And so there are a lot of sort of implied aspects to this, but they're grounded in law. What does certainly get mentioned, and I think is a repeated theme, is that Donald Trump knowingly lied. They talk about knowingly pursuing what was a conspiracy to overturn the election, and conspiracy is mentioned. So I think there are a lot of ways here that this actually, as a legal matter, makes its way to success and to the goal line. The question then becomes, even as you've indicted this guy, can you, with this tremendous, dogged support that he has, can you actually blunt his ability to become the next president and essentially erase all of this? I don't mean to skip too far ahead in the movie, but I do mean to say the power of this guy, the cult of Trump, is something that he was hoping would actually propel his conspiracy to overturn the results of the election. And I think you can point to the same phenomenon as perhaps propelling his ability to regain the presidency and, as I say, erase the record. So all of that is dogged as a ding word. Is it? All right, I'll ding it. There are a ton of ding words in this indictment. As I was reading, it's terrible. It gets in your head as you're reading it. You're going, that's a ding word, ding word, ding word. But certainly when Donald Trump is asked, what did you do this summer? He can say, I was basically fielding a bunch of indictments, hiring lawyers, spending tens of millions of dollars of small donor money on covering my legal case. But beyond Trump today, there is stuff we'll talk about. So yes, I will not make this all about Trump. In fact, I've got Bowling with Biden coming up. I have Televangelist Theater coming up.
Oh, and I love Televangelist Theater.
Oh, it's delicious. Favorite. And there's video today. There's video in Televangelist Theater. So there's much to do. And as I've mentioned before, the great John Rothmann joins us bottom of the hour. So in addition to smashing the like button, I want to thank you all for jumping on board and supporting the show. We're crowdfunded, and so very much appreciate. What up, Mitch? With a super sticker. I love the super stickers. I love the super chats, and I love the big shout out.
Big shout out.
I also want to say
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mitch. Every little bit helps. So thank you. Tony is here, by the way.
Thanks, Tony.
Tony and I had can I just take a moment, and then I really will get into things, and we'll get hip deep in it all. Tony comes on a mission of mercy last night to the studio. Because
I still don't know what happened.
We had a main computer meltdown. By the way, I got, where is
you
my...
look much less orange today. You look really nice.
Oh, well, we worked with that, and there was a problem with that, and then it was fine. Then we came back on camera, and it wasn't fine.
It was like a domino effect last night. It's like, okay, the computer problem. Oh, there's a camera problem, too. Oh, there's a broadcaster problem. It's just one of those. So
last night, Tony roasted all of my sounds and the Clarence Thomas drop, everything. It's all gone because of some weird thing. So what happened? Ferg's Tube. What up, Ferg's Tube?
Big shout out.
I call you FT. What up, FT?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for $10 super sticker. Love you, FT. Ferg's Tube. I love it. Thank you. And thanks to everybody supporting us. But so Tony came by, and he took the old main computer, which is, for some reason, it's brand new, but it's not working. And so he took that. And now we've sort of put this other thing together. And there's always a moment like this with Tony. He says, oh, man, I can't believe I've forgot my, and you can fill in the blank always. I forgot my linkage cord. I forgot the cord that has a this on one side and a that on the other side.
Yeah.
Every single time I go, oh, man, I forgot. And so we today come to you as a result of
something's flashing. That's exciting. Like a strobe light on your arm.
Oh, is that right? There's a little strobe. I don't know, Tony. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway.
Thanks, Tony.
It's all a mess. But anyway, Tony, thanks for making that trip. And we'll be back by end of the week. Everything should be back to normal, I hope. So, all right, let's get going.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, there's a lot here, as you know. The former President Trump indicted. In fact, it's a charging document that has a lot to it. It's essentially, as I was mentioning to you, it's charges that suggest that the former president participated in a conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election results, and the word conspiracy is in there. And in fact, I think one of the most chilling things about the entire charging document is something that we knew. But boy, when you see it with corroborative testimony that clearly they have, right? They have those who've come in, they've deposed so many people.
It packs a hell of a punch, right?
Yeah, it does, exactly. And so you end up with the clear understanding that they were ready for this to be a bloody coup. And not only on January 6th at the Capitol, but any kind of unrest, civil unrest that could essentially overflow in America's cities, they would use to their advantage to impose martial law. Again, this was talked about in documents. So they're not only trying to obstruct an official proceeding, that's what happened on January 6th, but beyond that, there was an effort to overturn the election in other ways. And that's where the unindicted co-conspirators come in, the Eastmans of the world, Sidney Powell, of course, Giuliani. So the third criminal indictment for Trump is historic. This isn't like the other ones, okay? This isn't like the, and sadly, I was having a conversation with someone last night, and they were saying, well, is this really, is it historic? Oh, it was you. Okay.
It was me. You said it's historic, and I said, "What do you mean it's historic? Guy's been indicted in New York. Guy's been indicted in Florida. Now it's indictments flying from every corner." But you're right. This one's different.
Yeah, this is really the sad fact, though, that because there have been so many indictments, it's a little Trumpian in the same way that he is this fire hose of misinformation and lies. You begin to lose track. Similarly, there's I wouldn't say fire hose, but there have been so many of these indictments, been a lot, to the point that, I mean, this is a former president, after all, that you do kind of think, oh, yeah, well, they indict him. It's a thing, and you can kind of lose it in the lights. This is historic. And we're talking about a coup attempt here, okay, everybody? Listen, this is a really different, historic thing. And he and his co-conspirators were attempting to regain the presidency or remain in power by any means necessary. That is huge. And the fact that it has been called out in a legal indictment is equally huge. He now faces 3 criminal cases following March's indictment on 34 counts of falsifying business records, June's indictment on 37 counts of mishandling classified documents. He's pleaded not guilty in both cases. There's a separate investigation in Georgia, which is likely to lead to more indictments there. That was the one to pressure state officials, election officials, right, to overturn the results of that election. But the January 6, 2021 investigation on the part of the Justice Department is huge. They say it's the most complex and sprawling investigation in U.S. history. And of course, it gets at the heart of trying to overturn the election. Quote, the attack on our nation's capital on January 6, 2021 was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. This is from the special counsel. As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government. And these knowing lies are what this document comes back to. The idea somehow, like, well, maybe he really did think he won. They said he lost, but maybe maybe Trump really believed that he'd won. No, it's demonstrably the case here. And again, based on all of these people deposed and all of these people involved in the process, that Trump was well aware of the fact that he lost. But this was a chance, and this was an expressed strategy to overturn those results that Trump himself knew were legitimate results. 4 serious federal criminal offenses. Conspiracy to defraud the United States applies to Trump repeatedly and in a widespread effort spreading false claims about the November 2020 election while knowing they were not true, and for allegedly attempting to illegally discount legitimate votes, all with the goal of overturning the 2020 election. And there's something else I want to say here. There's a sense that I've heard this from like learned people. Well, politicians get a broad berth on what they can say, and, there's a lot of stuff. They oftentimes lie, and when it comes to political speech, the First Amendment protects them in a lot of ways. This isn't just about what he said. It's about what he did. It's the conspiracy. He told Mike Pence, and this is in the charging documents as well, "You're too honest." He said those words to Mike Pence when asking Pence to not certify the election, to not go through with that which January 6th was all about, right? It was supposed to be a pro forma thing. It was supposed to be, it really is almost ceremonial. And the fact is, Trump asked him not to go through with it, and said, when Pence pushed back on him, said, "You're too honest." So we know that because Pence was deposed, right? This is how they know that. That quote could only come from Pence because he was the only one in the conversation. It's just Trump and Pence. So it's not just about what Trump said. It's about what Trump did. Conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, That was brought because of the alleged organized planning of Trump and his allies to disrupt the electoral vote certification. I just mentioned that. Obstruction of, an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding. That's tied to Trump and those co-conspirators, again, unindicted so far. I think that's because they want them to flip, I think most certainly. We'll ask John Rothmann about that, but I think that seems not to be in dispute. So Trump and his co-conspirators, they actually tried after the November 2020 election, all the way until January 7th, to block the official certification proceeding in Congress. Okay, so that's the other obstruction. Conspiracy against rights. Conspiracy against rights, you probably know this if you're reading around all of this, that's a Civil War era law, and that speaks to Trump and his co-conspirators trying to, quote, oppress, threaten, and intimidate people in their right to vote in an election. So the more you mess with election workers and the more you lean on those involved in the election, you have conspired against the rights of the people, if you will. The indictment lists 6 anonymous co-conspirators. As I've mentioned, they're not too hard to figure out. They're given individual numbers and some identifying traits, but they're not identified by name. Some are the attorneys. I mentioned Sidney Powell and I mentioned Rudy Giuliani, and they help promote these bogus election fraud claims. And co-conspirator number 3 is described as an attorney who privately acknowledged that the unfounded election fraud claims were, quote, crazy. Another co-conspirator, number 4, was a Justice Department official who worked on civil matters and, quote, attempted to use the Justice Department to open sham election crime investigations and influence state legislatures. That seems to me, co-conspirator 4, like it might be Eastman. But, so, again, Giuliani, Eastman, Sidney Powell, that guy Jeffrey Clark, maybe you remember him from the J6 hearings. He was the guy in the Justice Department that they were going to make Attorney General because he was in on this. And he was, it was Eastman, I believe, who also suggested actually imposing that Civil War rule that would essentially allow you to retain power and declare martial law if there's unrest. That's why any unrest played into the plans of Trump and his co-conspirators. Trump is calling the indictment fake, of course, and he's still leading the polls. And this is the other part. On Truth Social, Trump said, quote, a fake indictment was evidence of, quote, prosecutorial misconduct. His campaign issued a formal statement, later a fundraising pitch, calling it, quote, election interference. And his Republican allies in Congress, and even some of his GOP primary foes, the Ron DeSantis of the world, cast the indictment as a political persecution at the hands of the Biden administration. That's so odd to me as a play there. You're trying to beat this guy in a primary, but you're afraid to even agree to the fact that he was involved in this. You so want to beat down the Biden administration. And I think you so don't want to run afoul of so many of the Trump supporters. So they're talking about politically motivated charges, et cetera. So, look, here's the sad fact. And this is the second half of this. Donald Trump has such a cult of support. And they have so effectively painted Biden in this dark way. And I know dark Biden is the alter ego of Biden that gets stuff done. But I'd suggest that there's a real possibility that Trump uses this for fundraising. We've seen it before, and he does it effectively. And he uses it for support. And right now, in national polling, it's a dead heat, Trump and Biden. Now, Biden has had a bit of an uptick, but all I would say is it's a tenuous hold, it would seem, that Biden has on any edge that he might maintain over Donald Trump. So you throw in a third-party candidate, and There's no way a third-party candidate is siphoning votes from Donald Trump. As I've said, his support is solid. It's cultish. So the only place that a third-party candidate is siphoning votes is from independents and from those who are on the fence about Biden. Not crazy about him, but rather have him than Trump. Oh, wait, it's Vivek or it's Bobby Kennedy Jr. So this is unbelievable. And the last thing I'm going to say about this, I mean, for now, first of all, I'll love to read much of what you've said. Remember when presidents would concede that they didn't win an election for the welfare of the country? Exactly. And Tommy has got the point, which is that there was a sense of duty to the country that just doesn't exist anymore. I think in bare knuckle politics, certainly on the GOP side, this is it. It's ends justify the means. I mean, that's what's going on with the GOP. Ends justify the means. And when you feel as though you're in the righteous battle for the essence of America, against the libs and the, however they characterize the opposition, then the ends justify the means. And so you don't have the concessions on the part of Trump. Now, I will say, though, this is an extraordinary thing, even though you could kind of see that Trump was a wannabe authoritarian and is a wannabe authoritarian. And you also see the fragility on some level of U.S. democracy. I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, this thing almost worked. And you can say, well, how can you say that? Well, I'm just saying the next time around, I think there won't be those guardrails up. And some of those guardrails are people who just wouldn't play ball with Trump. Remember the screaming matches in the White House? It was a crew and that was connected to Trump, and I think connected to the GOP, but they didn't feel the personal loyalty to Trump that was required to break the law. I mean, to break the law to that extent. I think if Trump had another shot at it, I think there'd be absolute loyalists surrounding Trump, and you just would not find those guardrails in place that were associated with people doing the right thing. Karen says, it's alarming how many independents don't think Trump did anything wrong. Like 50%. Well, this is the thing when I was getting about the indictments, I was getting at that as well, which is that they can kind of wash over you after a while. Like, oh yeah, I know, Trump did bad things. So it's a problematic situation for this country, for sure. And it concerns me, and it should concern you and others. Democracies are only as strong as our union, which is tenuous on the best of days, says Huge in Japan. I think also there is a dug-in quality to both sides. It's one of the reasons that it's very hard to come up with any bipartisan legislation on the Hill. And the kind of deal-making that typified American government in past years, it's harder to come by now. I also think that the media and the media cycle has put a premium on rancor and anger. That's what really gets clicks, Rancor's a ding word, by the way. So you end up with a dialogue that produces almost by definition the kind of back and forth that Trump thrives on, right? He lives on anger. He lives on recrimination. He lives on revenge. And so that does animate his base. They love that stuff. And he's a strong man. And I hate to say it, but America feels like a country that is warming up to a strong man. I mean, even literally a strong man. They talk about Biden as, sort of I don't know how they get this infirm. I get it. He tripped over a sandbag and he's hugging 80 or whatever it is. But I'm not looking for the president to do bench presses. I'm looking for the president to forge policies that can take us forward in a very challenging time. Julie says, I think as deep doo-doo as he knows he's in, he absolutely basks in his worldwide attention. I agree with that. all publicity is good publicity. And I've just told you, he's raising money off it successfully. And he's bumping up in the polls. So, it's not just his, I think, personal positivity that he's feeling. He's seeing positivity to all of this in this bizarre world of American politics. So, John Rothmann will join us at the bottom of the hour, and I'm anxious to hear what he has to say. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I was going to do Chunk of Trump, and I just got into it, didn't I, Tony? I didn't even bother to. I just felt the calling, and I decided just to go for it. Yeah. Yep. So we're rocking right into it. Mm-hmm. Hey, you may be curious about the judge. Can I share a couple of facts about the judge? And I'm going to do it in a little law and disorder. Still get my law and disorder in.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
Let's meet the judge, U.S. District Judge Tanya S. Chutkan. She is set to oversee former President Trump's case involving his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The big picture, Chutkan has previously dealt with Trump denying his 2021 motion to halt records from being turned over to the January 6th committee. And in that decision, she wrote, "Presidents are not kings, and plaintiff is not president." So she's not her first rodeo, and she can be tough. Born in Jamaica, she got her bachelor's in economics from George Washington University, graduated from University of Pennsylvania Law School, worked in private practice, joined the law firm of Boies, Schiller, and Flexner. They're very big. Boies is involved in the Bush election. He's been involved in some very high-profile cases. That firm has been involved in extremely high-profile cases. In the January 6 cases, she has set tougher sentences than requested by the Justice Department in a number of cases involving January 6 defendants. They've come to her courtroom. The prosecution gets the judgment against the defendants, and she has slapped actually bigger sentences onto them than they might have received from even prosecution requests. She wrote, "There have to be consequences for participating in an attempted violent overthrow of the government beyond just sitting at home."
Right on.
She also denied Trump's 2021 emergency motion to stop the National Archives from turning over his administration's records to the January 6th committee. By the way, randomly selected, okay? Federal judges are randomly selected to handle criminal cases. So that's who she is. She may be tough and fair, but tough is not something that the Trump people want. That's law and disorder.
Tune in.
In the criminal justice system.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on the Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Still to come in the next hour, I've got Bowling with Biden. I also have Televangelist Theater. As I mentioned, there's much to do. News from Ted Cruz land. Yes, everybody loves Ted Cruz. So where's my going back to Texas? Didn't he? Oh, not my going back to. Didn't he say going back to Texas? I have. But didn't Cruz leave town? Remember he left town when it got cold?
Yeah,
and,
y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
No, it's not that. It's the...
he went to Cancun, right?
Went to Cancun. That's right. Kids out of school. Yeah, kids are out of school, and I thought, hey, why not just take them to something like...
It was obviously a mistake, and in hindsight, I wouldn't have done it.
That's it. Right.
You are high as a kite.
No, it's Cruz.
Hey, look, we don't have school. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, that's it. We don't have school. Let's get out of here.
And it was at a time when the state was under power emergencies and stuff. The crap was hitting the fan, and there he goes, jetting off to vacation.
Yeah, well, the kids didn't have school.
Hey, look, we don't have school. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, all right, okay. Yeah. So there's that. But I have news about Ted Cruz a little bit later, too. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Yeah, damn it. Give us some love. Love the love. Now, Kim's news next. And then the great John Rothmann, everyone. Thanks for being here.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and you know where we're going to start with this one. Yeah, hand over the heart like a patriotic American, right? Well, former President Trump will face charges in the nation's capital tomorrow related to his alleged efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election. In announcing the indictment yesterday, Special Counsel Jack Smith said his office will push for a speedy trial. It is alleged that Trump was determined to remain in power despite having lost the election and being aware that he had lost, according to Jack Smith. Americans' approval of the Supreme Court, we could do better, I guess. It remains at a record low. There's a new Gallup poll released today showing that 40% of Americans approve of the High Court. The court's approval rating was 49% in 2021, but it plunged after it allowed a Texas abortion law to stand. I didn't say how the ethics scandals have rocked the Supreme Court as well. Wonder how that factored in.
Yeah, there's a lot to not like about the Supreme Court.
There's a lot of questions going on.
Yeah.
Finally, we have information about Robert Bowers, the man convicted of killing 11 people at a Pittsburgh synagogue. He has been sentenced to death. A federal jury reached the unanimous decision today in what is being described as the most heinous anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history. Robert Bowers was convicted in June on more than 60 charges in that 2018 shooting. And again, today convicted to the sentenced to the death penalty. And
sadly, a lot of anti-Semitic acts of horror to compare it to. And this is the worst. And so he is sentenced to death. Yeah.
Sentenced to death. And it has been quite a ride as far as the trial with the conviction and the waiting for the sentencing phase of the trial. And now we know that that is a death sentence.
His attorneys, I think, they asked for mercy, you know. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like, it seems like such an empty request from this guy who's just an absolute cold-hearted, you know, massacreist. Positively, I don't think it is. Should be. Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
We often talk about climate on this show, and I will tell you, Mark Thompson, July was hotter for 4 in every 5 people on Earth than it would have been without the effects of climate change. That is according to research from Climate Central. The nonprofit looked at the climate in July for more than 4,700 cities around the world. And again, hotter in July for 4 out of every 5 people on Earth. Fitch is downgrading its U.S. debt rating from the highest of AAA to now a rating of AA+.
This is what you get when you mess around with closing down the government and the debt ceiling and all of that. That's exactly what you get. We warned about it, and here it is.
President Biden blaming Republicans for this one, but while the rating dropped, the new one is among the highest possible. Several factors were cited, including a steady deterioration in standards of governance over the last 2 decades.
I've mentioned this before. Yeah. One of the things that economists look at, and one of the things that investors look at, perhaps the most important thing that investors look at, is what? Stability. Mm-hmm. They want to be able to invest in something and know that that investment is at minimum safe and in best case scenario will actually gain some returns on that investment. Well, if you don't have number one, you're certainly not going to have number two. If you don't have stability, you're certainly not going to have good returns. And so when you look at the American economy and you look at buying U.S. bonds and any kind of political instability affects that rating and affects the confidence with which investors can move forward.
Do you think it's embarrassing for America that we're not at the very highest rating anymore?
It's embarrassing, yes. It flies in the face of, we're this sort of outpost of justice and morality, and we're the great functioning democracy. So, of course, that's true. But I would also just say, as a practical matter, you need investments in your country. That's why it's important that our rating be a high one. And in this case, your rating is being affected by stuff it shouldn't be, by all of these shenanigans on Capitol Hill and, the complete politicization of every decision. It's utterly lunacy.
Let us move on to now the FBI. Pretty serious story saying that the FBI is now claiming authorities located 200 sex trafficking victims and identified or arrested more than 125 suspects. Yesterday, the agency said it conducted a nationwide operation last month. The FBI said the campaign helped find 59 minors subjected to child sex trafficking and child sexual exploitation offenses. So well done to the FBI. Remember in recent days, this woman, you can kind of see she's blurred because she's naked nudie, but in what is a frightening video, she's seen firing a gun right near the Bay Bridge. While on the bridge, I would say. This woman accused of firing a gun while naked on the Bay Bridge last month will face charges. Her name is Sequoia Duncansell. She pleaded not guilty to charges including shooting at an occupied vehicle and assault with a semi-automatic firearm. No injuries were reported from the gunfire. She is currently in custody without bail. And again, she will be facing charges in this case.
It seems odd that she could have pleaded not guilty. Given the fact that there's so much video
evidence.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's not guilty because of reason of insanity. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Okay, counselor.
See, well, I'm happy to be here, proud to serve, and I will not be representing old naked nudie.
Yeah.
You know what, pal? You created havoc and chaos.
Yeah. Thought you were going to go for Judge Judy.
Oh, I love Judge Judy. Yeah.
Needed a Judge Judy.
Your Honor, I'd like to ask for a recess.
Yeah, I'd like to ask.
Okay, so let's move on to this story of Jamie Foxx. He has put up a birthday message for his sister, thanking her profusely, saying she is the reason he is still alive. The actor was hospitalized in April for an undisclosed medical complication. He's posted a birthday message for his sister Deidre Dixon on Instagram, writing, "Without you, I would not be here. Had you not made the decisions that you made, I would have lost my life." Fox has been seen in public in Chicago over the summer as he receives physical rehabilitation care at a medical facility in that area. And that's what you want, isn't it? When you pick the person that's going to be responsible for making the decisions when you're incapacitated in the hospital, to have someone that will step up and go to bat for you and make the choices that could end up saving your life. So
who's that person for you, Kim?
Well, for me, that's my husband. So hopefully,
so you have utter confidence in him, do you?
I think so. I think he's a pretty reasonable fellow. Yeah,
I think so. I think so. It's not the kind of 100% confidence that I was expecting.
I will say that
he's so.
I think so. He's a guy that if it looks like I'm a goner, he'll pull the plug, which I want. But maybe in Jamie Foxx's case, they didn't move too quickly. So I would like it not to be, I would like someone to give me a few days to see if I bounce back before they just yank it out. And I think he's that guy. Yeah.
Okay. I think
How about
so.
You have confidence.
I'd like that as a drop. I think so. Tony, maybe we can grab that as a drop. I think so. No, I don't have anybody. I mean, I may sign John Rothmann on to make the decision. You know what I mean?
Courtney, she doesn't have the decision.
Yeah, I think she may want to just pull the plug too early, to be honest. Yeah. I'm always honest with you guys. So we can pick it up with her on Monday. But
oh no, I don't think she would. I think she would make the good decisions.
No, you don't know her. You don't know her. But okay. Anyway, Jamie Foxx clearly has the right person. By the way,
he's got the right person in there.
Profusely is a ding word, which was used in the okay.
Yeah. So the last story that I will bring to you today is in regards to this Chinese bear. And I don't know if you guys have seen the picture, but I'm about to show it to you now. Oh no, I have to get rid of I have to get rid of.
This is the bear that stands on 2 feet.
This is the bear that stands on 2 feet, and there's thinking that it's just a human in a bear suit at this Chinese zoo. Okay, here's the picture. People are thinking, that's not a bear.
That's so cute.
That's some dude in a suit. But this Chinese zoo is denying its bears are actually human beings in costumes. Video clips at the Hangzhou Zoo's sun bear standing and waving began, I guess he was waving as well, began circulating online with social media users joking about them actually being people dressed as the bears. Well, the zoo posted on Chinese social media from the perspective of a sun bear named Angela. It read, "I got a call from work yesterday from the head of the zoo asking if I was being lazy and skipped work today. So I found a human to take my place."
It is funny that the bear was showing the video now. Bear is standing there
I mean,
waving.
seriously?
Yeah. It's tough to imagine a human in that natural habitat that they have the bear in, of concrete and more concrete in an enclosure. It's zoos like that are just nauseating. I'm sorry to take it to that place, but
it's true.
you know, it's no wonder that the bear is kind of imitating human responses. I mean, I think, but that is bizarro for sure.
Well, the statement reiterated that Angela is indeed a sun bear, not a black bear, not a dog, a sun bear, not a person. And that while Angela did wave to the people, she is indeed a sun bear. But I was reading an article about this, and I guess it's not unheard of for zookeepers to dress up as animals to make it less intimidating to animals. So you'll see them dressed up as a panda or something in the panda enclosure so that they don't get as accustomed to humans in their space. So in some cases, I guess you could see people dressed up as animals in zoos, but not the case with Angela.
That's interesting. Yeah. Look at you with all the bear zoo knowledge. Impressive.
I do aim to bring it to the Mark Thompson Show.
Very impressive, I think.
This show is crowdfunded, which means we do rely on you for support. If you check us out at themarkthompsonshow.com, got to put the in, themarkthompsonshow.com, you'll find our Patreon and our PayPal links. And of course, the Super Chat is open and people have already been contributing. So we're grateful for that and for any way that you can contribute and participate in the show. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
I've told you it's never easy being in this business.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I love you here. It's day 2 of our new hours, 11 to 1 Pacific time. And this guy has so beautifully slid his schedule to accommodate our new hours as well. He is loved by all and respected by most.
What?
John Rothmann, everybody. Come on for John Rothmann.
Mark, I just want you to know, despite that last comment, I would never pull the plug on you. I urge people to support the Mark Thompson program so that we never have to pull the plug on what has really become a phenomenon, and I'm delighted to participate.
Oh, you're so lovely, John. Thank you very much. I'm excited to promote your podcast, which really has become a phenomenon in a very short time. You've got tons of subscribers. It's called Around the Political World with John Rothmann. You can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. And generally speaking, I think you'll post this conversation that we're about to have every week. You post this conversation as a separate element as well on that
I do
platform.
Indeed, and we're delighted to do it. My producer, Gogo Zoger, gets the clip, and we put it on, and it's getting a remarkable number of downloads. So we're happy to promote the Mark Thompson program.
Well,
and
thank you.
May I just ask quickly, Kim McAllister, yesterday was your first day. How did it go?
It was good. I mean, we have some things to work out a little bit, but we're getting there. It'll be good.
How long before you dump John Daly and just do it yourself?
I'm going to try to keep him as long as I can keep him.
I see.
Is worth his weight in gold. Yes.
Wow. Okay, so you've really changed your mind about Daly then.
Yeah, I love him.
John, I'm always trying to just sow the seeds of unrest. But they really are good together. I think
it's your daily endeavor.
Oh, I get it. John is just, he's a gift, so you're very lucky to have him. You guys did very well. I watched the whole show yesterday. So,
thanks,
All right, now, John, let's get to what happened. It was Titanic news, I think. This isn't like the other indictments. This is historic. Speak to it, and then we'll get into the political realities that Trump actually, the assets, I'd suggest, that he has politically, despite this indictment.
Well, first of all, it was a very sad day. The idea that a former president of the United States could be indicted on federal charges, and you are absolutely right, it was an attempted coup, and certainly seditious, although sedition is not mentioned. The whole 4 counts stipulates that Donald Trump tried to subvert the American democratic system. So my feeling yesterday was one of sadness. But on the other hand, I was also very happy that the criminal justice system is working. A lot of people have criticized us for not pursuing this and criticizing the Attorney General for not moving faster. But I like to remind people that Watergate break-in took place on June 17th, 1972. Richard Nixon didn't resign the presidency till August 9th, 1974. It was 2 years and a month or so. And the whole point was it takes time. You don't want to bring a case that can't be proven. And what I think Mr. Smith has done is to present, and if you read the indictment, and everybody should read the indictment, it's absolutely readable and fascinating. It reads like a political novel, a thriller. And the fact that it's so well calculated, I think, makes it very tough. And you'll note the Republicans only have talking points that were prepared before the indictment came down. Because if I were in charge, I'd ask every one of these Republicans, is there anything to these charges? And the idea that they talk about weaponizing the process is, to me, ludicrous. What do you think Donald Trump is doing? He's weaponizing, and he weaponized the process. May I point out, this is not about what he's done before he was president or after he was president. It has to do with what he did while he was in the Oval Office. And that makes it even more important for all of us. So this is the 3rd indictment. There will be a 4th indictment out of Georgia. And it's a very tough business. The Republicans, by the way, the one Republican who stood tall in all of this was Mike Pence. And I want to make it very clear. Mike Pence said yesterday in a fascinating statement, it was a choice between the president and the Constitution. And he said, I chose the Constitution, and I always will. I'm no fan of Mike Pence politically. I would never vote for him for president. But this was a remarkable statement by a vice president of the United States against the man who was his boss, if you will, as president. So those are just some quick observations.
Sure, and you know, you mentioned Pence. I mentioned at the beginning of the show the fact that quote exists in the indictment, "You're too honest." You know, right. That was what Trump said to Pence. And so, as you suggest, Pence was forthcoming about his interactions with Trump. And then, of course,
can you imagine, though, Donald Trump saying, "You're too honest" to Mike Pence? I just want to know from Trump supporters, and I know there are Trump supporters listening to this broadcast, and I know they'll listen to the repeat of this broadcast on my podcast. How do Trump supporters answer that? There was certainly no censorship of free speech. There was certainly no, and by the way, that also interested me about the indictment. It doesn't refer to the speech on the ellipse. It doesn't refer to all of the things that he did to incite. It deals with the specific facts, established facts. And may I also say that one of the most interesting aspects of this will be when we read the whole business and we hear it all presented, is whether or not the former president's chief of staff gave information that would ultimately result, and whether his former vice president would do the same thing.
Let me take a couple of these. SF Tesla says, I never saw a legal barrage attacks like this before. Are they trying to convict him by playing the odds? With so many cases thrown in the hopper, one of them ought to clinch the conviction. No. Listen, this is a kind of like, looking at a mass murder scene and going, God, they're gonna charge the guy with all those murders. One of them's got to stick. No, I mean, if the guy's a mass murderer, he's a mass murderer. Trump was a mass illegal parade of illegality, might be the way to put it. So I think all of these charges that are coming forward are to be expected. A guy who runs afoul of the law, who is completely lawless in almost his every move, is going to pick up some indictments, SF Tesla. I don't think it's a legal strategy to charge someone who's lawless with various violations of the law. Don't you agree, John?
Right. this is astounding because it's separate cases, and the complete disregard for his oath of office, the complete disregard for law is what is so astounding. We have never had a president violate so many norms, so many ethics, so many laws as Donald Trump. So this is not a persecution at all. He has brought every one of these indictments on himself. And when you read what Mr. Smith has prepared, you can see without any question that this is a man who is completely off the rails.
Yeah, and I might say that, this isn't like the kind of gillnet fishing of law where you just pull everything out of the ocean and you figure out what you want later. As John has said, you needed to work very hard to essentially produce a case with supporting depositions and testimony. I do think, I will say this because I will own the statements that I made early on, this did take too long to happen. Now, what I thought took too long to happen was Smith's appointment. I just feel as though the Justice Department ground too slowly. I think they were trying to avoid charging a former president, but that's for another time. This is the other thing I wanted to mention, John, another comment. And there's a lot of this, and I love Mindy. She's a regular viewer of the show. Pence is a true American and stood for the truth. Well, let me just say this. There is a lot I don't like about Mike Pence, but I mean a lot. I'm with John Rothmann on this. I wouldn't vote for him. I feel he's a homophobe, and he not only is a homophobe, but he's put legislation in when he was governor to actually take money away from Planned Parenthood and put it into gay re-education camps or programs. It's absolutely heinous. So I think Pence, when you say is a true American, we have a low bar now. Why? Because he told the truth and did what he was supposed to do? Sorry, I don't give him credit for that particularly. But John, you may disagree. Should I give him credit?
Look, I give him credit for having the courage to stand up against Donald Trump. It is not easy for a vice president to oppose a president. You can go back to Jefferson and Adams in 1800, where you had that kind of opposition. I guess you could suggest that John Nance Garner deciding to run against Roosevelt in the Democratic primaries for that third term in 1940. But generally, vice presidents toe the line. They have only one constituent that matters, and that is the President of the United States. So I give Mike Pence credit. And more than that, he kept contemporaneous notes. We didn't know that before. Those contemporaneous notes are now part of the record. And I have a feeling that Donald Trump is going to be very unhappy when between Mike Pence and Mark Meadows, a lot of this comes out. By the way, you'll notice Mark Meadows is not one of those listed as a potential unindicted co-conspirator. And the reason may be that not that Mark Meadows flipped, but that Mark Meadows told the truth. And I think there is a real distinction between those two.
Mark, we have to thank Dan Quayle for giving Pence the advice to do the right. Okay, I mean, again, we can say I thank Dan Quayle, I thank Mike Pence. My feeling is, guys, it shouldn't be. I don't even know why the call was made. I mean, it's absurd. It's a pro forma act on the part of the vice president to certify the election. Why do I need Dan Quayle to, tell Mike Pence that he shouldn't do it?
Why are you yelling? Well, you might say that having to do that, I would quail at the thought.
Oh,
but the important thing, but the important thing is that in the end, Mike Pence withstood tremendous pressure. And one of the things in the document,
I think that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Repeated attempts, including Christmas message, New Year's message, public comments that it tried to intimidate the then vice president. And whatever you think of Mike Pence's politics, and I don't happen to like them, this was a matter of a man standing firm. What if he had not? You see, that's the real question. What if he had accepted John Eastman's recommendation and Donald Trump's pressure to send these electorals back to the state? No,
John, it would be like me asking you to drive the getaway car and in some robbery I'm pulling off, and then when you said no, you got to give John Rothmann credit. He said no. Why? I mean, Rothmann shouldn't drive the getaway car.
Why?
Thompson was asking him to do something wrong and illegal.
Yes, and Mike Pence had the courage to say it and say it publicly, and he's now being more adamant And I think that is what he deserves credit for.
I think
way, if you commit a robbery, and you need somebody to drive that getaway car, I'm the last person you want.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you
just drive too slowly,
the
is
fact
the problem.
that people should support this broadcast, I'm happy to do it.
No, I would say that the other thing, just to extend the parallel, I mean, it was really a robbery of the democracy. So you had a much, I think, a more grave scenario at play if Pence hadn't pushed back. And I will grant you the pressure, particularly in today's politics, I will grant you the pressure that Pence was under so to not do the right thing. I'll grant you that. But
Pence was standing very clearly before the bar of history. He wants to be on the right side of history. If he's never president, he wants his children and grandchildren and future descendants to be able to say, at a critical moment in the history of this country, Mike Pence did the right thing. And that's a good thing that he feels.
Let's talk about the political realities, John.
Okay,
good. Trump very much, I wonder if you could run through the narratives. I think there are only a couple. But Trump could very much end up being the next president of the United States and essentially erasing and getting rid of everything that we just talked about in terms of indictments, convictions, whatever they might be.
The president has absolute power of pardon. He could pardon himself, and he has said as much. He's also talked about granting pardons to people who were involved in January 6th, which, by the way, talk about a weaponization of the Justice Department or the White House. That's it. How does it affect the Republican race? I have to tell you, it is, to me, incomprehensible that Donald Trump is still so far ahead for the Republican Party nomination. And I'm going to stick my neck out. We'll talk about it when we get closer to Iowa and New Hampshire next year. If he wins those two, the caucus in Iowa and the primary in New Hampshire, I think he's unstoppable for the Republican nomination for president. Who could replace him as a nominee? Well, DeSantis has failed so incredibly that I just don't see him emerging. And I don't think that Trump's base will now accept Mike Pence. So the Republican Party has a real issue involved. And that goes back, if I may be so bold as to say, when Donald Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., on the ellipse said, we are no longer the Republican Party, we are a party of Donald Trump. So my feeling is that if Trump is the nominee, and he may well be, the American people will offer, I think, a repudiation of Donald Trump. By the way, don't take a look at these popularity polls. Take a look at state by state.
Right.
And you can take a look at the numbers and you can see that it is highly unlikely that Donald Trump could put together an electoral majority. But he is running, I believe, in part. I think he would have run anyway. But now, with the power of pardon, tantalizingly close, he will stay in this thing to the end. He cannot afford not to leave. By the way, if you're a small contributor to Donald Trump, can you imagine $40 million plus being spent on Donald Trump's legal fees? I thought he was a billionaire.
Right.
I've never seen I want to be very polite about it, but I've never seen a cheaper person who has all this money refusing to spend it on himself and instead turning to small donors. Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, if you can get somebody else to pick up the tab, I guess you do it. I made that point yesterday. I couldn't believe it. I mean, because these are legal bills. First of all, his style is generally not to pay his legal bills. But now that somebody else is able to pick up the tab, I guess it's easier. You make a very important point, and I think I'd like to underscore it. The election doesn't come down to some national poll. It comes down to, now, it's screwy. I mean, once again, you know how I feel about this, all of you who've perhaps listened or watched for a while. I think you open up the hood on a lot about America, and this is only one thing. The Senate representation is crazy. I mean, it's utterly absurd. But now let's talk about elections, because John mentioned it. John's right. I mean, those national polls mean nothing. This election will come down to a sliver of voters in key critical swing states. So, John, when you say he doesn't stand a chance, that's because you've seen polling in those states, or because it's your feeling that the consistency, the texture of that electorate in those states is such that it wouldn't propel Trump?
That's exactly it. He has a base. That base will stick with him and vote for him. But the important element to understand is that he can't broaden that base. So when you take a look at the electoral map, states that were swing states like Michigan and Ohio and of course Wisconsin, I don't see him carrying those states. And if he can't carry those states, Mark, he cannot win the electoral vote. So my sense today, and you and I will be talking about this on into next year, is that Donald Trump hasn't a chance. The tragedy is that the Republican Party is stuck. There's nothing they can do. They cannot publicly repudiate their former Republican president. The party...
Repudiate. Yeah, go ahead.
The party oligarchy, is that another ding word?
Yes.
Cannot get out from under his shadow. And the people running against him in the primary are afraid to attack him for fear of alienating his base, in which case they wouldn't turn out to vote for whoever the Republicans nominate for president. It's a real conundrum. But I will, if I may, I want to throw one other thing out. I have watched carefully Fox. I won't call it Fox News. That's an oxymoron. But I watch Fox, and it was appalling yesterday. What were they talking about? Peripherally, Donald Trump. They were focusing on Hunter Biden. Yeah, sure. They were focusing on the scandals. And I thought to myself, what universe do they live in? Talk about an alternative universe. Talk about something that makes absolutely no sense. And by the way, their big witness, who everyone said would nail the whole business with Joe Biden, well, nothing there.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, just to put it specific for those of you who missed it, the star witness on the Hunter Biden thing was to really connect Joe Biden to Hunter Biden in kind of an influence peddling thing. You know, that is to say, you pay my son this much money and I'll sit in on meetings and, you know, perhaps grant you favors at the executive level. Or at the administrative level, because at that point he wasn't president. But more to the point, the star witness John's talking about actually said, yeah, a couple of times Joe Biden came onto the phone, said hello, and, you know, like, what's for lunch, that kind of thing. You guys okay? Nice to meet you. It was a very apparent, like, how's the weather there? It was literally that kind of conversation. And then he ducked out. And the star witness said it was clear that Hunter was trying to spin his father's participation as much bigger than it was. The witness said that. The guy who's supposed to essentially make the connection. So I think there really is no there.
But not if you listen to Jim Comer. Not if you listen to Jim Jordan. Not if you listen to Sean Hannity. And not if you listen to Laura Ingraham. When you listen to the people on Fox, it was the most incriminating testimony. And now they're requesting a transcript, which we will all go over very carefully. But they didn't lay a finger on Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is the person in question, in their minds anyway, because they're talking, believe it or not, they're talking about impeaching Joe Biden. Well, in order to have an impeachment, I've said this before, you don't need any grounds. All you have to do is have enough votes. And remember, the Republicans control the House of Representatives. But now let's go to Kevin McCarthy for a moment. Kevin McCarthy understands he has a 4-vote majority in the House of Representatives. If he wants to remain Speaker, he's got to be very, very careful. And so he can't attack Biden. He can't attack Trump. He can't attack anybody. All he can do is act very defensively. And he'll be critical of Biden's policies. But he won't go after Joe Biden personally for that reason as well. Same thing with Trump. You know, the hypocrisy in the Republican Party. I've known most of the Republican leaders in the last half century who have been involved in the House of Representatives. I keep thinking to myself, if Jerry Ford were alive, he'd be rolling over in his grave at this kind of thing.
Hypocrisy, Dingward. I love that you call him Jerry Ford. All right, now, John, you bring a wealth of information and analysis every week. We so love having you. But people who want more can get more. It's a daily podcast around the political world with John Rothmann. I encourage everyone to grab it, subscribe. It'll download to your magic device automatically. And in so doing, you'll be able to get inside the mind of John Rothmann every day. Wow.
Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
But I want you to know I wouldn't miss being with you ever And I want to thank Mark, and I want to wish Kim McAllister every success in her venture.
John, let's keep it about me. Okay, I hate this thing where everybody's drafting off my success. Mark,
John
I would never miss this, but I want to say this about Kim. Hey, screw that.
So sweet, John.
Let's keep this about me, Rothman. It's about me.
Kim, may I say,
ignore the diatribe coming from the
Kim,
upper square.
Anytime I can be of service to you, it's on the house.
Look at this. Now he's already jumping from this show to your show. It's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. John Rothman, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
We love you.
it.
Bye.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Much to do. We'll catch up with everything and everyone. If you need to reach us and the chat isn't enough for you, and some of the comments after hours, if you're watching a replay, aren't enough, I'll read a few of them after Kim's news. Send us an email, themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com, themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. Smash that like button like a boss.
Smash it with your
Make
iron
it count,
rod.
baby. Costs you nothing. Give us a thumbs up. That helps. And if you want to be part of our community in a bigger way, and I'll share a couple of names with people who have jumped on board as Patreon supporters and subscribers, PayPal supporters as well. Links to both PayPal and Patreon. Thank you, because we frankly wouldn't be here without your support. So all of the road ahead is Trumpless. So if you couldn't get enough Trump, go back and listen to the first hour again. I'm moving on, unless there are comments that I need to respond to. Yeah. I have Televangelist Theater. I do have some Biden, Bowling with Biden's coming up, as I mentioned. Ted Cruz news and MAGA Mickey. That's right.
Wait, what?
I know. MAGA Mickey. Did you know that Mickey is a Magster?
I thought Mickey and the MAGA folks were at odds, no?
Oh, so did I, until I saw the video. I have the video for you.
Okay. That doesn't seem right.
No, it doesn't.
So.
No. Well, you'll be the judge. All right.
Okay.
Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and when I get a start, Mark said the road ahead is Trumpless, but my road ahead is full o' Trump. Let me tell you. Can I get a "you can't say you love your country," please?
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah. Well, hey, wait a minute. How about the country? You cannot say you love your country.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, do we have it?
Yeah. You cannot say you love your country.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Special Counsel Jack Smith says the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol was fueled by lies told by former President Donald Trump. He laid out, as a matter of fact, 21 lies, and they are listed front and center on the CNN website. I'll just read you the first three. How about that? The lie that fraud changed the outcome of the 2020 election, that Trump had actually won, and then the election was stolen. Lie number one.
Don't talk to me that way.
Lie number two, that fake pro-Trump electoral college electors in 7 states were legitimate electors. Number three, the lie that the Justice Department had identified significant concerns that may have affected the outcome of the election. That is just 3 of the 21 lies. I urge you to read them.
I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps, that God ever created.
That couldn't be more perfect. And of course, the Washington, D.C. courtroom will be the location tomorrow when the former president hears more federal charges against him. Of course, Trump indicted yesterday on 4 counts in connection with his alleged efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election. We call that a coup attempt. Special Counsel Jack Smith said the Justice Department will push for a speedy trial. And as mentioned earlier here on the Mark Thompson Show, Robert Bowers has been sentenced to death for killing 11 people at a Pittsburgh synagogue in 2018. Now, he was convicted in June and ruled eligible for the death penalty in July. A federal jury deliberated for about 10 hours over the course of 2 days before they handed down the unanimous decision: death penalty. Former Vice President Mike Pence says, I love him sticking out of a car, he will end runaway spending in Washington if he is elected president. Talking about the real issues, at least. Speaking at Indiana State Fair, the Indiana State Fair, former Vice President Pence blamed President Biden's failed policies for the rising cost of living. The former vice president did not talk about Tuesday's indictment of Donald Trump, but did talk about runaway spending.
Well, he was governor of Indiana. I mean, he was back there in his formerly home state.
Yeah.
But, you know, he always brags about the fact. By the way, nice tie. I mean, I have to say.
Thumbs up there from Pence.
Yeah, you got a thumbs up on the tie, I would say. But the thing that he always brags about is the balancing the budget. But it was already balanced when he became governor.
Hey,
I love these guys claiming credit for stuff they had nothing to do with. So
you credit where, wherever you can, you're going to go.
But anyway, nice
credit.
tie. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, yeah. There's something too, though, that every president kind of inherits the economic situation from the president before. So, while he blames President Biden's economic policies, what about blaming the person who, set up the economy to be the current way it is? I don't know.
No, of course you're right. It just, at some point you own it, and sadly, that's just the way it's set up. But of course you're right about that. Yeah. Thanks to Vivian, by the way, El Shawa.
Oh, Vivian,
as long as I'm interrupting.
Much.
Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah, thank you, Viv. Appreciate it.
Nice. Remember the guy in Tahoe who was breaking into hotel rooms and tickling women's feet at night? Creepy, pervy, kind of scary to have some dude in your room laying his hands on you too. Well, now there is a suspect.
Kind of pervy,
very
kind
pervy,
of scary,
extra pervy. Well, it is scary.
It's kind of scary when to have somebody. I think kind of, yeah.
You will call me out for anything. I'll tell you. So they've arrested this 26-year-old man. His name is Mark Anthony Gonzalez. Oh, Mark is his name. Interesting.
No,
Mark
Mark
Anthony Gonzalez arrested. He's of Atwater, California. He's accused of 2 counts of burglary and 2 counts of battery. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office says between July 1st and 3rd, a man using the sliding screen doors at a State Line Nevada hotel on Elks Point Road gained access to guest rooms. Once inside, the man approached sleeping women in their beds. Each female victim awoke from their sleep as the suspect was rubbing their feet. The sheriff's office wrote in a statement, once awake, the females confronted the male subject like, really? What the hell, dude, is what I would say. And he fled the scene.
What's a guilty pleasure you have?
No, it's not. That is not cool, dude. It's I'd consider it assault.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and so then he was arrested and charged with battery. So absolutely, and why I say kind of creepy, because it is creepy to have somebody touching your feet. But I've watched enough SVU, Law and Order, to know that it escalates from here, right? First you touch the feet, then you do other stuff. So
of course,
glad they got the foot toucher, because I watch TV. I know these things.
Of course, now I get it.
The studios appear to be trying to fill more artificial intelligence jobs. Netflix, Disney, Sony, CBS, and Amazon Prime are all looking to fill AI positions, according to Indeed.com. One of the main issues of the strikes by writers and actors unions is the possibility of having their jobs taken over by AI. And yes, the next Mega Millions jackpot is worth an estimated $1.25 billion, 1.2 bill. No winner in Tuesday night's drawing. Powerball had a recent $1 billion winner, but hey, Mega Millions now 1.25. And I said it before, when it gets this high, it's ready to pop. That's right. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Mark Thompson Show, where we are crowdfunded, and we appreciate you. If you check themarkthompsonshow.com, that's where you'll find the links to Patreon and PayPal. And of course, the Super Chat is live and open here on the Mark Thompson Show.
Super Chat is live, everybody.
Live,
Super Chat's live, and it's open to everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, no matter what I say, he's getting
No matter what she says, I'm on it. I'm on it. Can't give her a break.
Why are you yelling?
It's
She's
the
got her
Mark
own
Thompson
show now. She got to own it.
Why are you yelling?
All right.
You trying to drive me away? Don't do that. I'm not leaving.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Feels great, baby.
Let me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters. No context will suffice to explain the hurt and anguish caused by my words. I apologize to all who have been hurt.
I stand corrected. I misspoke. My words upset so many people.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
God bless America. The end.
There's never been anything like this.
Do I hit it long? Is Trump strong? Huh?
Who is having that conversation?
It's fantastic.
That's not fake. That's real.
The science is ridiculous.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
There is no defense for my conduct. It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Don't ever use that word.
You get nothing.
What's a guilty pleasure you have?
Seriously, what the
Right on, everybody. Right on. Welcome to Hour 2, Mark Thompson Show. I'm Mark with Kim, and Tony is here today, by the way. And Tony has been busy and will be busy this hour.
Thanks, Tony.
Because we have a couple of things coming up that Tony will need to be on top of. I was going to read you a couple of comments that we'd received from various people who watch the show after, a lot of people watch it in delay. I think, frankly, most people watch it in delay. So people leave comments, and I always love reading the comments. I've told you I read the comments, and whenever possible, I try to respond to them here on the air. There are a lot, so I'm trying to... I thought the best was, when we changed our hour, that we've only done one show with these new, and we only shifted 1 hour.
Yeah.
There's the new hour doesn't work for me.
I want Mark Thompson at 10 o'clock every day.
I want it first thing in the morning, and then there are those who say I love that you shifted to the new time. It's great, and you have a few of those, and this is my favorite. I'm so sorry I can't find it. We started the show yesterday, and this is not unusual, with a problem with the lighting. And we had a whole problem. As I told you, the mothership computer crashed, and Tony and I were scrambling. There was all this stuff. But the net effect that you could notice was that the lighting was different because we had to rejigger everything. So
looked orange.
Looked orange, and so there's a comment on that. So now, even right now, we're using a temporary camera and all this sort of thing. But anyway, more to the point, a woman wrote in and said, I'm sorry, I can't find your comment right now. I don't need to hear about the lighting problems on your show. Get to the show. So, and by the way, I don't, even though I kind of said that in a kind of mocking tone, I was really, I take it all to heart. So when somebody says, I think, oh, maybe she's right. I always try to, I don't view anything as...
Here, I have it. Hillary.
Yeah.
She says, your internal conversations about your lighting is not interesting to your listeners. Perhaps leave that for off air.
I love it.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
Right. I felt very much it was a Judge Judy moment. Thank you. But then if you go further down, you'll see somebody else writes, my favorite part of the show is when you guys are all talking about some technical problem you're having or lighting problem. Can you find that, Kim? I don't know. I thought that was really funny that those things coexisted on the same show, you know. I get the same thing politically. You know, I'll get some comment in support of feeling that I'm not as hard. Do you find it?
Yeah, this is from Ranthalling. I utterly love the chat about lighting. And yes, Mark, look Trump orange to start. So yeah.
It's fantastic.
All right.
Some
so you
people
see
love
that,
it, some people hate it.
Some people hate it. But whatever, Roger, thank you for the super sticker, throwing us a $5. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah. And then as long as I'm mentioning that, I wanted to also acknowledge that a Patreon subscriber, and I will have her name momentarily. Mm-hmm. I'm quite grateful that this Patreon subscriber, Mary Zane.
Mary.
Very cool name.
Cool.
Mary Zane just edited her pledge. She was a $10 a month supporter. Now she's a $20 a month supporter on Patreon. Nice. So thank you. A lot of people are going to Patreon and PayPal, know that we need the support. And so appreciate that very, very much. Mary Zane, thank you. And big shout out.
Big shout out.
All right.
Oh, a really nice comment from Mr. 54. As long as you're on, that's what people want. You'll always have hecklers and people who have an issue about something, but you guys are great. Thanks, Mr. 54.
Oh, that is very, very nice. Almost too positive for me to really be comfortable with it, but
Say something
very nice.
Negative. Go ahead. We know it's coming.
All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
You're always welcome to reach us in all the ways I mentioned. You can reach us in the live chat and in the comments. We've just read a few after hours. And, of course, the email is themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. Tony, I will let you make the decision. Do you want Televangelist Theater first, or do you want Bowling with Biden first? It is your choice, sir, and I will abide by whatever you decide.
Televangelist, all the way.
Why are you yelling?
Televangelist Theater? All right.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
We love to keep our eye on the men and women of the cloth, those who are closer to the spirit, the deity. This is Televangelist Theater. Wow, with that ramp up, we're still delayed, Tony?
I was bowing my head
for that. You have the intro for that. I don't.
I thought you said you had it.
No.
Oh, my God. Kim, this is outrageous.
We're going for Bowling for Biden, everybody. Bowling for Biden.
We are living life
No. We're doing Televangelist Theater. How dare you?
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
I was all excited for Televangelist Theater.
Me too, and you saw the way I really ramped up like a major league pitcher.
While you
I was all there with
together, let me take a moment to thank Deidre from Lozica Concrete.
Oh, I love Lozica.
$10 super sticker. Thanks to all that support the show. Thank you too, Deidre. Thank you. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. And I first want to say thank you so much, but I want to say it in the thank you so much. No, where's my thank you so much? You know?
Thank you so much.
I'm looking for the...
okay.
Oh, my God. Okay. Now you're just going to hear every drop we have. Mm-hmm. So I have Televangelist Theater, Tony?
Yeah, we played it before the show.
We did?
Oh,
I can't find it. Stand by 1 second. Everybody just take a second. I think we need a second. We were moving at a pretty good clip.
Flawless and fantastic, writes the Surface Spins.
Oh, my God. I may have to do it without the open. Is that going to be possible?
As if on cue, says Lee. More tech stuff. Yep, that's it.
Oh, wait a minute. I know where it is.
Oh, thank the Lord.
All right, here's what we're going to do. Everybody, did you see Men in Black? Did everybody see Men in Black? Okay, remember they come in with the thing, everybody forgets that they didn't have that moment.
Zapper? Yeah.
Okay, so because you're going to break this out as a separate video. So you all are in on it, but the people who are going to see it later as a separate video, we're just going to play it like this. So here we're going to do it. We like to check in occasionally on those men and women who are closer to the to the spirits, to the deities. We do it in a segment we call Televangelist Theater.
This is Televangelist Theater.
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Here's your host, Mark Thompson.
Ah, yes. Well, it is, it's no surprise once in a while, sadly, that someone who is all about the Lord loses his way.
Uh-oh.
This missionary has really lost his way. He's on the run after being accused of blowing $33 million in Bible donations on diamonds and gambling.
What?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, if you're going to blow through 33 mil, that's not a bad expenditure.
It was great. I loved it.
Jason Gerald Schenck is his name. He's 45 years old, and he's still at large, as they say. He's wanted in relation to the alleged plot, which feds claim was carried out over the course of 9 years. Ah, yes, the long con. I love it.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Between 2010 and 2019, Jason Gerald Schenck with the long con. The guy lives on a sprawling farm that's been in his family for years. He took the sum under the guise that it would be spent on Bible distribution. To bring the word, Kim, to those that needed it.
Imagine how much $33 million could buy in Bibles. Like
It seems very high, the number, if I can say that. 33 million. And those were donations. I mean, and I'm struggling just to get donations to keep this show on the air.
Well,
this guy's got 33 million.
You were asking for money for Bibles, it would be rolling in.
That is true. That is true. Well, he wanted to spread the word, so they thought. And now the word is fugitive, everybody. He is allegedly at large, having spent the money on personal effects, diamonds, precious metals, gambling. Yeah. And then he put $7 million of it there into his farm. So that is the story on him, a man who's lost his way. I mean, the mission of the Lord has passed him by. And,
gambling is not very missionary, right?
No, it really is not. Meantime, on the other side of Televangelist town, there was this moment that you'll explain to me in a church service. Do you have it, Tony? Figure it's a 50-50 shot that he has it. Here you go.
Oh, he does.
If you're watching on YouTube. Bravo, Tony, for having it.
Yay, Tony.
Here we go. This is in church. He's running down the aisle with this little kid. Now, I don't know what ceremony this is, where this child has to be placed on the altar. But he's running. The dad is in shorts and a T-shirt. Look at him. He, lurches forward, tosses the kid up onto the altar, and then he runs out while the kid stays there. Where is former altar boy John Daly? Will you ask him? John, if you're in the chat, maybe you can tell me what this is.
He was in the chat earlier. Is this a Catholic service?
I don't know. Show us again, in real time, if you would, please, Tony. Yeah, here he goes. He runs down the aisle, T-shirt and shorts. The kid's
flopping all over the place.
Yeah, the kid's, I don't know, the kid looks maybe 18 months, 2 years old, if that. And then he throws the kid up on the altar, and he jumps up on the altar again so he can put him all the way up. It's just an odd ceremony. I don't know. Maybe I will say it looks Catholic or...
Yeah, because that's the Virgin Mary, it looks like. That's not Jesus. That looks like a woman, I would say, right?
It looks Catholic adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks hella Catholic, says John Daly. Well, John is a former... he is a former altar boy, so if anybody has a perspective.
I want to say
extreme Catholicism, he says.
Yeah. It looks like some service where if you get your kid up there first, your kid gets blessed or something. Maybe that's why he was booking it up the aisle. I'm going to be first. Get up there.
That is a great take. Wow.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
Right. Well, it was It was definitely dramatic, I will say that. And with that, my friends, that is Televangelist Theater for today.
This has been Televangelist Theater.
Yeah, very, very strong. I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. I really do. It was great.
It was great. I loved it.
Yes, exactly. So now, Tony, my Catholic Church never had that type of ceremony, says Ms. Organic. It was weird. Baby Jesus. Maybe, who's to say, right, Mindy Lee? I mean, I don't know. He was certainly put on the altar with the urgency that you would put baby Jesus there. I'm not saying that he was, but I mean, it's just...
It's really important for him to be
there. It was suggested when I saw this earlier that the kid might be sick and the father's trying to get him a cure through the statue, says John. No, maybe. I mean, look, I hope that's not true because I hate to think of a kid as sick, but that's a new type of altar boy, says Spencer. It was drama. Very dramatic, though. I like a good show when I go to church or temple, There are Catholic processions and ceremonies like this in other countries. Yeah, everybody's got their own flavor of religion, right? So it's possible. This one definitely had the flavor of maybe not being in this country. But, the Lord, and this is what's often misunderstood, is everywhere, right? Isn't that the deal? The Lord is everywhere. So it doesn't matter what country you're in, what area code you're in, or what zip code you're in. The Lord's there with you. That's my understanding. All right, now, Tony, if you're still standing by, if I haven't lost you completely.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How about a little bit of bowling with Biden?
Oh.
You've got that handy, Tony?
Live from KGO Lanes, it's Bowling with Biden.
It's go time!
This man's going to win a lot of political offices.
Now, here's your Bowling with Biden host, Mark Thompson.
Decided we're going to have to recut that without the KGO. We decided to keep it in for a while as kind of like a tip of the hat to the old station, but nothing else has that branding. Yeah, I think you really the reason that we still have it there. And
it's because I like it. It's kind of like a little. It's vintage.
It is vintage. I don't hate it, but it just feels a little off-brand now. You have your own show, Nikki, me. It's like I just don't know. Anyway, we talked about it.
That binds us together.
No, maybe. Joe Biden, anyway. This is Bowling with Biden. Had a big night. I don't want to bring it up again. It's a little awkward, but the former president had a big indictment day. It was sedition, conspiracy to overturn an election, all of that. So what was Joe Biden doing that night? Well, he was at the movies, everybody. He's in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where your pal Mark Thompson and his family used to vacation. Probably not in as nice a house as the Bidens have. Jill Biden and Joe Biden went to see the summer box office hit. Anybody? Barbie or Oppenheimer? What do you think? Barbie or Oppenheimer? I'm taking guesses. Which one did the former president and his wife see? All right, we can do that one. They went to the movies in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. President Biden and his first lady, Jill Biden. They went to see the summer box office hit, Barbie or Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer said. Barbie says Los Comentarios. Oppenheimer says David Odell. Oppenheimer's Eric. Oppenheimer says. A lot of Oppenheimers, a couple of Barbies. Surface Spin says Barbie. Barbie, of course, says Karen. Oppenheimer says Francine. Oppenheimer says Lee. Vilma says Oppenheimer. The answer is indeed Oppenheimer, everybody. They went to see Oppenheimer. There is Broadway Joe Biden on vacation in Rehoboth. Prior to going to the movies, they had dinner at a nearby restaurant, Matt's Fish Camp Lou's. They arrived at the theater around 6:30. The early shows are so civilized. And just as the Bidens arrived at dinner, the indictment was coming to pass, and so it was wall-to-wall coverage on that. Joe Biden said in a podcast interview that the White House movie theater gets new movies, including Oppenheimer. So it may be that he'd already seen Barbie. There is no additional reporting on this matter. I get the list of what movies are in, and we have the new one, Biden said of Oppenheimer during that interview in a podcast, at which time he had yet to see Oppenheimer. The president also said that he doesn't watch television. And when asked what show is the most accurate when it comes to reflecting Washington, he says while he doesn't watch television, he would say Mission Impossible. That is kind of funny. Got to give the guy credit. That, my friends, no word on popcorn or candy or any of that stuff. Solid reporting on where they dined and where they saw the movie, but there is no further reporting on what they actually ate or if they consumed anything else while in the theater. That, my friends, is Bowling with Biden for today.
That's all for this edition.
There's your new later.
But join us again next time for Bowling with Biden.
I still have MAGA Mickey standing by. Did you get that, Tony? I sent it to you. 50-50 that he's got it.
Yeah, it's on the rundown.
Oh, okay. I got it. Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
And I still have Ted Cruz as well. But they'll both wait until after Kim's news. Okay, Tony? So we're cool with that. By the way, I give Tony a hard time. The guy is working like 5 jobs, and he came up here. We were like, I'm telling you, we were in free fall yesterday. And the dude, and he'd already been up since whatever, like 3 a.m. because he's working some overnight shift and a
morning
show on KFI radio in Los Angeles, like crazy. So I give him a hard time,
Plus
but I
the
hope you know
weekends.
that he's my brother. So that's where that
All
comes
good,
from.
man.
Yeah. The deal is we'll take a break for Kim's news. When we come back, I've got Ted Cruz news. And then, as I mentioned, MAGA Mickey. I didn't think it was possible. I mean, I thought MAGA and Mickey are against each other, but apparently they're not. So all of that still to come. Smash the like button. Kim's news next. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Supporters of former President Trump are being asked for donations to help fight off what the Trump campaign is calling the left's witch hunts. One day after Trump was indicted for his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election, his campaign sent out emails claiming the former president could face up to 561 years in prison because of a corrupt DOJ. Trump has also been indicted over his handling of classified materials and in connection to a payment made to an adult film star just before the 2016 election as well. There's also indictments over his business and their expenditures and what they're claiming and what they're not claiming as well. U.S. Capitol Police evacuating the Senate office building. A call came in today for help. Officials said they received a concerning 911 call. Police advised those in the Senate building to shelter in place. There have been no confirmed reports of any gunshots or anything else. Congress is currently not in session. The call reportedly concerns a mental health crisis, so that is going on at the Capitol. AAA says gas prices are 27 cents a gallon higher today than they were a month ago. The average price, $3.80 a gallon. That'd be nice, which is 12 cents higher than last week. By state, prices range from $3.30 a gallon in Mississippi to $5.02 a gallon here in California. California's iconic Joshua trees are in danger of a massive wildfire. Officials say this fire that started last Friday has now burned through more than 82,000 acres as of this morning. The fire goes through the California-Nevada border. It is the largest in California this year. I believe there's some containment on the fire, at least 23%, as it burns out of control. The writers' strike headed toward its 100th day, but there may be some hope. The Writers Guild of America confirming last night it will resume talks with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers about negotiations on Friday.
There's just one thing I want to mention, just because
Yeah.
I know people may or may not be aware of this on the writer's strike thing. The organization that you mentioned, the Association of Motion Picture, et cetera, they're representing all the studios. And so when we talk about them making a deal with the studios, they do it through that organization to which you were referring. Why is that important? Because that organization has an interest in chiseling down the writers, and that's what's happened. They've guaranteed their employers, again, their employers are the studios. They've guaranteed, hey, let us handle this negotiation, let us handle these labor situations, and they've guaranteed that they won't get more than a certain percentage in every negotiation. So it's an interesting fact. I mean, you can ascribe to that whatever you want, that there won't be as good a deal. I would say that would be a decent conclusion to come to. But also, it's just an interesting way in which this labor negotiation is going on. The actual studios and people associated with those studios, the people who are giving quotes like Bob Iger, they're not at the negotiating table. Instead, this organization is at the negotiating table, and they're an intermediary, a middleman, if you will, for the actual studios involved. Interesting,
Do they have to go back to the studios, though, with any deals and get approval from all the different streaming networks and studios that this is an okay thing?
I mean, I would think that, it has to be signed off on. Sure. It's not as though, hey, we came up with, Bob Iger isn't waking up and going, wow, oh, that's the deal you came up with? Well, I guess we're good with it. He's running a company. So, yeah.
Let's talk about sideshows. An ordinance passed in Alameda County will reduce jail times for those within 200 feet of a sideshow from 6 months down to 3 months. A sideshow, of course, involves spectators at street races, reckless driving exhibitions. Violators of the new ordinance could see a 3-month jail term, charged with a misdemeanor, be fined up to $1,000. Attorneys are questioning the legality of the crimes committed on public property for those either may or may not be viewing a sideshow if you're just within 200 feet of it. The ordinance, though, takes effect on August 9th. And California is kind of blowing away its goal for zero-emission vehicle sales. 1 in 4 new cars sold last quarter were ZEVs, zero-emission vehicles, pushing the state past the goal of selling 1.5 million ZEVs, a full 2 years ahead of schedule. So the charging infrastructure is improving as major automakers recently announced a partnership to build public charging networks throughout the country. The California Energy Commission says nearly 126,000 zero-emission vehicles were sold in the second quarter. California will require all new vehicles sold in the state to be ZEVs by 2035.
Wow. So we're doing well, you're saying?
We're doing well in meeting that goal.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. The vote on July 18th by the El Dorado County Board of Supervisors to designate the month of July as American Christian Heritage Month has some people celebrating, others not so happy about it. Supporters say it's simply acknowledging Christianity's role in the founding of the country. It's not forcing religion on anyone, and they say it's similar to Black History Month or Jewish American History Month. But opponents say, this is a clear breach of the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. They call it unconstitutional to designate July American Christian Heritage Month. So,
I'm going to make a comment here, and I'm sure I'll get blowback, but one of the things about these months or about various special days to honor a religion or a people or however you want to put it, an ethnicity, one of the things about that is that typically it's a most honorable endeavor if it's historically an oppressed people, a minority that has been the victim of a hate crime or hasn't been recognized for any number of contributions because they live in the minority, right? So it's always interesting to me when the majority already a dominant force in the country, they want their day, like white people day. Like, I just don't think you need a white people day. I mean, white people have been the dominant majority for a long time.
Every day is white people day.
Exactly. So I'm just saying it's always interesting to me when, these things percolate to the point where they actually might happen. And I'd suggest this might fall into that category.
Well, lastly, Taylor Swift, this music superstar, is being lauded for helping out a Bay Area food bank. So she comes to the Silicon Valley. She gives toward the end of her tour, with just a stop in Los Angeles left, $100,000 bonuses to her truck drivers, big fat bonuses to other members of her staff as the tour winds down, the American portion of it. Well, now officials at Second Harvest Food Bank of Silicon Valley are thanking Swift for her generous donation to the organization. They say the singer's gift will help Second Harvest in their efforts to feed about 500,000 people in Santa Clara and San Mateo counties every month. So again,
she's amazing.
See,
wow.
She is. This tour so far has brought $1 billion in.
Wow.
So that she donates along the way and gives her people bonuses as they drive her, her tour equipment across the country.
Oh, yeah. No, she's given.
Cool.
In fact, here is a question for you. How much in total bonuses to everyone? Kim mentioned the truckers and, her riggers and all of the people in the various cities. How much, when you add it all up, has Taylor Swift given in bonuses to everyone on her tour? I ask you, my audience, you tell me, how much in total has Taylor Swift given in bonuses on her Eras tour, the one she's on now, the one that Julia attended and Kim's niece attended?
Ashlyn, can I give you a hint? I'll say the trucker bonus by itself was $5 million, $100 to each trucker. So
wow, 100,000 to each trucker.
100,000 to each trucker, which means $5 million in total bonuses to the truckers.
Wow.
So now add in all the rest.
5 million is coming in. 30 million, says William. Wow, 30 million. Harry says 150 million. I don't know. Maybe. What else you have? John says, okay then, 20 million. Square says I'm way off again. I think I heard 50 million, says John. The actual retail price, the total number in bonuses given to everyone on Taylor Swift's colossal Eras tour is $55 million. Wow. How about that?
Really
love my Taylor Swift. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, man. 50 million. Beth Farmer has it. Congratulations, Beth Farmer. Well done. All right. Kim, did you wrap your news? I jumped in with that Taylor Swift fact.
That's okay. That's good. This report crowdfunded is also, we might have a Coachella Valley coffee spot. I don't know, but it is crowdfunded, and we rely on you to help us fund the show. We're so grateful for anything you can do. Find us at themarkthompsonshow.com, where we have our Patreon and PayPal links, and the super chat is, of course, live here on YouTube. I'm Kim McAllister.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, this is the Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, it is, baby. It's the Mark Thompson Show. And what I would say also...
The Mark Thompson Show.
What I would say also is that I'm going to give a lot of love to Coachella Valley Coffee tomorrow. Okay. They are the official coffee of this show. And I guess I'll give them a little love now, and I'll get into greater detail tomorrow. But... you do get a discount as a viewer of the show or listener of the show. And what I will say, I'll tell you about the discount in a second. If you're watching, you can see it right now. But what I will say about Coachella Valley Coffee is something I will not say about any other coffee on earth. It is the best coffee I've ever tasted. And it's, I think, in part because it's fresh grow. It is not this old grow, which you oftentimes get when you buy supermarket coffee and a lot of other coffees. It can be an older, it's just an ugly truth that there's old grow in there. That's how they can discount a lot of beans. Mm-hmm. it's past crop. This is all fresh crop. So you're getting the fresh crop and then all of the different textures and tastes that go into it. Knock around their website, see what you like, and try it for yourself. And then use the discount. It's Coachella Valley, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And then when you check out, enter the code MARKT, and you'll get a 10% discount on everything, anything you buy. All right. Now, you can see all the different kinds of coffees. They have teas on the website, too. They really have a lot of stuff. But, man, their coffee is beyond anything I've tasted. It's the only coffee that I pour in my house. And that's my favorite, Ocotillo Espresso. So get yourself a couple of pounds of that. I think that's the best value. But go for it. They work hard, and it's all hand-roasted. So, again, it's CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And again, Mark T is the code at checkout. I'm so proud to have them on the show and really excited that they're our official coffee.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I have a couple other items, but before I do, in real time, Trevor in Concord is my guy. When I ask for a drop, he turns it around right away. And today, Kim came.
Making me look bad.
Came up. Well, you got to be fair to you, you are doing other stuff. So he is. But I would say that this is pretty strong, and I'll remind you, it was in response to, would your husband wait until there was no other decision to be made that you weren't going to survive before he pulled the plug? I mean, for whatever reason, he's going to wait. He's not going to do it too soon.
I think so.
I think so was the answer.
I think so.
I think so.
I got so.
Yeah.
I got really high up there, didn't I? Yeah.
I just think that in your response, not so much substantively as much with tonality.
I think so.
You indicate maybe you're not 100% sure that he won't pull the plug early.
I think so.
All right. Anyway, fortunately, you have kids that they'll contribute to the decision-making process, probably. Tony, I'll ask you. You want MAGA Mickey or do you want Cruz on a Ted Cruz on a? What would you like?
Mickey.
All right. This is MAGA Mickey. You know, MAGA is on opposing footing to the Disney people. So it was with some surprise that I saw this MAGA Mickey. Tony, roll it, please.
Patriots, what's up? It's Forgiano Blue. I got a special guest with me today. This is MAGA Mickey, and I'm with Forgiano Blue, and we're here to make Disney great again.
What?
Trump 2024. Trump 2024. Protect the children. We're standing up for the children. We're keeping these sickos out of Disney and all these corporations like Target. Look, we got big rallies coming up. We're going everywhere this year. Tag right now where you're at. I'm bringing MAGA
There's
mask.
never
and
been
the Trump
anything
Trump
like this.
Where you're at. I want to know what city you're voting Trump 2024 from, baby. Trump 2024.
That guy's getting
oh my God, that's
soon.
the funniest thing.
Disney's coming after him. That is a no.
They are very litigious, Disney, so I would be surprised if they...
No.
No, exactly. If they let that stand, but they also, honestly, might get more publicity for them than they want, so they might just lay low on it. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah. When's their patent running out on Mickey? That's coming soon, right? Because they keep extending it, right?
Oh.
And if I remember, Walt wasn't a fan of unions, if I remember right.
Oh, Tony's kind of suggesting that soon you can go ahead and make Mickey the spokesperson for whatever you want.
Because they keep extending the copyright, right? And it's like an extra, supposed to be 75 years after, but then they're like, you can have it a couple more, but then it's like 100 now. And I don't know.
Are we going to have a Mark Thompson show Mickey? Is that the next thing?
There's weird copyright rules with Disney. They got to figure some stuff out, obviously.
MAGA Mickey might be Trump's VP pick, says John Watson. Wow. Yeah, you never know. Trump 2024! He's more charismatic, I think, really, than Pence or DeSantis. Play me just the end of it again when he goes, Trump 2024! It's very funny, I thought. Gosh, I just couldn't believe it.
Did you see the
man.
guy's wrap on his truck? Like, he had the whole truck.
Well, look at the guy's beard, too. The guy who's doing the actual...
Yeah.
Creepy beard, Jay Abrams says on that guy. Well, take a look. Yeah,
Oh,
you can
it's
see
the
it.
beard and the tattoos.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on. He's wearing the Make America
Trump,
Great
Trump,
Again.
Where you're at. I want to know what city you're voting Trump 2024 from, baby. Trump 2024!
Will you, Trevor in Concord, could I have that as a drop, please? I'm sorry. All right. I think that's pretty funny. All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
There's also a Ted Cruz centric commercial that is going up in Texas to basically undercut Ted Cruz. It's sponsored by the Lose Cruz PAC, and it plays on the thing we were talking about earlier, which is Ted Cruz's trip to Mexico while his state had lost electricity and, as you're aware, was freezing. There were people, literally, unable to get heat in that state, many of them. So here is the spot that's running in Texas to try to unseat Ted Cruz.
This morning, the humanitarian crisis in Texas is accelerating. Millions still without power or water. Hospitals around the state pushed to their brink, and the death toll is rising.
Senator Ted Cruz made time for a family vacation in the middle of our state's historic winter storm.
The images were everywhere today, showing the Texas senator with his family boarding that
He's watching all of this while he's sitting on the beach drinking a beer.
Inexcusable, and Texas should be outraged.
Make Ted's vacation permanent, it says. So that's your
Cruz.
Lose Cruz. That's the latest out of.
That's a really good commercial.
It is it is a good spot. Yeah. I agree. So
it was obviously a mistake, and in hindsight, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, there you go.
Can I say it's nice they didn't put any music in it to get us copyright strikes on it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was sweating that exactly.
Hey, look, we don't have school. Let's get out of here.
Yeah. All right. And that's the latest on Ted Cruz and the attempts to unseat him. Oops, ordered my French roast for my burr grinder. Bravo, says Deirdre at Lozica Concrete. Okay, I just placed an order for Coachella Valley Coffee. Let's see if it's as good as you say, Mark. I really think you're going to like it, Debbie, and you should, I think it's about the grind. Ordered my 2 pounds of Sumatra. That is the thing. I think you'll love it, Ricky. I really do. I'm telling you, I've mentioned this before. I've got 3 burr grinders and this, super duper espresso machine. And I make French press and I make the pour over coffee. I try a lot of different coffees and a lot of different ways to drink coffee, as you know, and a lot of different grinds. And as a result of all of that, I can say with confidence that coffee is the best. And as I say, it might just be because it's a fresh crop all the time, new crop, always.
Well, the beauty of this platform is that we don't have to accept a sponsor that we don't like or believe in. So we seek sponsors that we have a connection with, that we like their product, that we actually want to share it with you. So when we have a sponsor like Tenuta Winery, Tenuta Vineyards, or like Coachella Valley Coffee, it's because we really like what they're doing. So
yeah, it's a real great surprise to have them on the show because I've just been, I've been a customer for so long. So for me, it's really great. I'm taking some last second comments before we wrap up, and I make room for Kim. I'm trying to get off on time these days because of Kim. Why do you need 3 burr grinders, says John. I'll tell you why, John. And it has to do with something that you may have noticed about me. I am manifestly lazy, everybody. And as a result, I don't want to. Here's the other thing. There's a very exacting grind that I want for my espresso. And there's a very exacting grind I want for my drip. And so rather than trying to achieve that exacting grind, if I don't get the right grind and I don't get the right draw on the bean, I will toss that coffee. I will toss that cup. And then I'll mess with the grind some more. So rather than, having to reinvent the wheel all the time, I have the grinder set perfectly where I want it. And that's why I have the one grinder there for espresso. Then I have one grinder there for a French press, and it'll be a slightly different bean also. So that way I don't have to swap out the beans all the time. It's really, I drink a lot of coffee, as you can tell, and I really want it to be right. So, and then the third one is all decaf coffee. So that's why the third one's there. So again, it's so I don't have to empty out the beans
with the caffeinated coffee. No, can't do it.
Yeah, they're all Burr grinders, and the decaf
each one has a different function. Yeah.
Has a different function, right? So that's the answer. So again, it's Coachella Valley Coffee, and when you get to checkout, regardless of what you've purchased, knock around on the website, find what you like. You'll get 10% off with the checkout and the code MARK-T. I'm going to wrap this up, unless anybody has Deirdre, love it. $10 on the way out with a super sticker. Big shout out. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, I'd like to really, Joe, thank you so much, Joe, with a $20. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Super sticker. Fergs, I already hit you again. Big shout out. Thank you for the 10 earlier. And Pinky, thank you for a $1.
Big shout out.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Somebody asked me in the thank you, Viv. I hit everybody already. We try to hit them in real time now on the show. The thank you then again, Vivian. I got in the I don't know if was it a real, it doesn't matter whether it was after the show or whether it was a comment during the show, but someone asked about Spencer Christian and Dan Ashley, and if they're still in touch. Yes, in fact, we can book Spencer. I've been wanting, any excuse to book those guys, so we'll book them in the weeks ahead, and I love those guys, and they're really cool about coming on, so we'll get that organized. I'd love to book Raj, who is the OG of this show. Raj Mathai, who's NBC Bay Area, the anchor on Channel 4. I just watched him last night, and I thought, oh my God, I've got to get him on the show too. So we're getting, as the summer goes on, we'll get ahead with some of those people. So much to do. I still have that major announcement about, but I can't do it until tomorrow, Tony. So I don't think I can. I don't think I can hold things any longer. Yeah. So there's a major announcement coming tomorrow. But I think tomorrow we'll bring David Katz to the party, and that's going to be a very popular addition to the party. With everything that's going on with these indictments, with the unindicted co-conspirators, that, I think, is very much in David Katz's world to handicap who they are, which I think we have some clarity on, but also the likelihood that they may flip, that they may make a deal. So, and then, of course, also I want to talk to David Katz about the timing. He's told you before that the documents case won't get done in time for the election. This case may be very different because of the judge and the venue. So, all of that.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
All of that tomorrow. Kim is next.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
The After Party Live. Go check her out. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Tony. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Link will be in the chat.